Welcome, folks. This is a brand new YouTube channel. I am Jake Ellenbogen. I'm your host of this channel. If you know me, you probably know me from Downtown Rams, Downtown Sports Network. There are a myriad of places that I've been. But I have to say, I really wanted to do this. I've been wanting to for a while. I just really want to talk some sports. But something's on my mind. And it initially started out with Nick Wright of First Things First on Fox Sports 1 coming out and saying that the Rams basically were going to lose to the Seahawks. He didn't see Russell Wilson turning the ball over multiple times in this game. And, basically didn't really he called them fraudulent, a fraudulent 5-win team that he wasn't sure how good they were. So I disagreed with him. And of course, the Rams proved me right in that regard. I don't think that you can penalize them for playing the NFC East. That's who's on their schedule. Seattle, on the other side, they'll be playing all sorts of easy teams. That's just how the schedules work out. But before I went into this, I was thinking I'm going to put Nick Wright on full blast. But then I realized something. I had already recorded, and I realized looking back, some of the video footage that was on Twitter had been cut off at the right moment to make him somewhat look bad. So I can't, in good conscience, put out a video trashing a guy when what I initially saw looked like he didn't give any backing of anything for the Rams. And I disagree with his assessment of, how they have an easy schedule and he doesn't know how good they are for that reason. I just disagree with that. But I thought that he basically had a video which he was saying that the Rams aren't good, Seattle's going to win, and it's because of their passing attack. And he didn't give him any credit on defense. That was not the case. The video got cut off. So I decided to mix things up a little bit. Because I saw the next First Things First, the next, after the game, they had kind of a round the table type of thing. And it's funny with the Rams. They're always a funny one in the media. It's either, oh, are the Rams really good, or do they just get ignored? Well, that was the case Monday morning. What is the story? The Rams win 23-16. Darius Williams with 2 interceptions, Terrell Lewis with 2 sacks, Leonard Floyd with 3 sacks and a fumble recovery. The Rams running backs with the 3 total touchdowns on the board. Just an overall dominant performance where they punched Seattle in the mouth. They forced 3 turnovers on Russell Wilson. They shut down DK Metcalf to 28 yards. And everything is all about the next morning. Not how good the Rams are. They're still fraudulent. It's all about, is Seattle in trouble? Now, I understand that for whatever reason, Seattle seems to have a huge following. Probably because they were recently good. I don't know. They have a huge following, not just through Seattle. I mean, like all over. Like they're always talked about. And when you have an elite quarterback in Russell Wilson, that makes sense. But here's the fact. The fact is the Rams took care of business after being basically doubted, and some would say that they were unfairly treated. In a sense, they were called fraudulent. It wasn't a good game against Miami, before the bye. Not at all. But here's the thing. You can't take away what this defense is doing. Brandon Staley's defense is second in the league. You can't take away with what the Rams have been doing, taking care of business, winning 5 games, going into the bye. And you can't take away the fact that they just manhandled Seattle. The score really didn't indicate what the score could have been, what the game really was. So I've changed the subject kind of on the fly here, and instead of calling out Nick Wright for making a baseless claim, which I found the full video, and so on Twitter, when I said that he should stick to basketball, I guess I was wrong in that sense. Then again, that's the clip that they shared, so they wanted somebody to interact to that. But I thought about it, and We do too much, or not we, but you watch first things first. You watch First Take, whatever you watch in the morning. And I don't watch them all the time, but they do show up on my news feed, and I'll take a gander here and there. What's the biggest issue with those? They pick their favorites, they watch their favorites, and they don't give you much analysis on your favorite team, but they tell you your favorite team isn't good, or they don't talk about your favorite team. Rams fans had every right to turn on First Things First Monday morning and see this team of analysts absolutely gush over this team because they dominated the Seahawks. However, the Seahawks are now a headline because they lost, and therefore it kind of takes away the win for the Rams in the media's eyes. I'm not saying everybody has the same thoughts, but I have noticed that. It's like when, at the beginning, when the Patriots were good, or people thought they were good, and that win against the Patriots, because, I don't know, just for whatever reason, Seattle got all the praise in the world for beating the Patriots. They're now 4-5. They haven't quite been the team that we expected. I'm noticing this more and more. We talk about the big teams. I get it. You want your viewership to be high, but eventually at some point, you have to talk about teams that are playing well. For instance, the Raiders are 6-3. Do the Raiders get any sort of credit for that? Probably not. Now, Tampa Bay would be in the same boat, but they have Tom Brady, who's the media darling. There's no way they're not going to talk about Tom Brady. I think when you look at this NFC division, though, or the NFC conference, one thing is clear. This is wide open. So the idea that you're only going to talk about Seattle, your takeaway of the Rams and Seahawks game is that Seattle's in trouble. If that's your takeaway, you are nullifying the fact the Rams are also the same record, and the Rams beat them head-to-head convincingly in a game that they outplayed them the entire time, except for that one touchdown at the beginning to Alex Collins. That is an issue, and I think that eventually needs to go away. We need to start... People, if you want to get people's attention, fine. But nothing pisses off fans more than scouring for content on their team after a win. I'm not speaking from experience. I'm speaking just for people that do that in general, because it is common. You want to hear what everyone says about your team after a win, and then all of a sudden you look and, oh, they didn't talk about him. It happens, right? I mean, it is funny how we create these narratives, like the Steelers, who are 9-0 now. Well, they haven't played the Chiefs yet, and the Chiefs lost. So I don't know where you're going with that. There too often do we go, well, they haven't really played anyone. Okay, well, they're winning all their games, so should be somewhat good, right? There's too much of that, and it's gotten ridiculous to this point. It's gotten absolutely ridiculous. I'm going to roll the clip now. They don't talk about the Rams. You wouldn't even know that the Seahawks played a 6-3 Rams team. A total disservice to this team, a total discredit to Sean McVay's crew. You would have thought the Seahawks just lost to the Jaguars.
For much more information, let's move on. We're going to stay in the NFC now. Talk some Seahawks taking on the Rams. Another tough day at the office for Russell Wilson. Turned the ball over 3 times, sacked 6 times, and tried to cover up for his bad defense all the times. Russ, 10 turnovers in his last 4 games as the Seahawks fall to the Rams. Brandon, Seattle's dropped 3 of their last 4 games now. Are you starting to think of these guys as pretenders?
So the entire time is going to be a gush fest for the Seahawks. We have to talk about them in a win or a loss. We always have to, discuss them. And sorry, this happens. It's not just the Rams. This isn't just the Rams fan in me that's speaking. This happens far too often. I mean, the Rams are 6-3, and they beat Seattle. So we've been hearing about, well, they haven't really played anyone in the NFC East. And what about the NFC East? The fact the Giants almost beat the Rams, the Buccaneers. They've been in almost every game. I mean, you play who you play. These are NFL teams. I do not like that argument. I'll never like that argument. And quite honestly, I was pretty disappointed in the fact that, like Nick Wright, for instance, who came out and said that, he had the Seahawks winning, it didn't seem like he owned that. It didn't seem like he owned the Russell Wilson thing. It was a very flip-flop thing where, yeah, Russell Wilson's really been turning the ball over lately. And it's like, oh, well, did you go back and just now look at the stats? Did you just realize every reason why I wasn't a big fan of the Seahawks coming into this game? Rams coming off a bye. Seattle just lost 3 out of 4 after this game. I mean, Russell Wilson's turned the ball over 10 times in the last 4 games. They were without Chris Carson, Carlos Hyde, Ethan Pochik, Shaq Griffin. So you're not hearing that. And that's the thing that needs to be stressed. There needs to be more analysis, and I just don't think we're getting it from a lot of these talk shows. So, I think in turn, you're getting a lot of blowback from a lot of these fans that aren't faking it until they make it. They know what they're talking about. I actually had a friend of mine on the show. You've definitely heard his name before, Charles Davis, and he said, more and more we have to be on our game now because, the average viewer is very intelligent and they know what they're watching and they know when you're faking. And so that's the thing, is that, we're starting to get to the point where, you have all 22 available now. You have Pro Football Focus. These guys are going to be held accountable. And, obviously fans aren't going to like when you start throwing around words like, oh, this team is fraudulent, and then they prove you wrong, and then you don't mention them. So I guess, yes, this is going back in Nick Wright and company because, yeah, I don't think they owned it. But that's how it is. I mean, I guess that's how it is. But I'm going to continue making these videos. They're going to be, sometimes quick hitters, sometimes, in-depth. Don't know what my next video will be about, but this one was more leaning towards the Rams, which makes sense since I am a Rams fan. I cover the Rams for Downtown Rams, and, that's kind of my bread and butter. But I know this league very well. I know players very well. I know depth charts. I know a lot about this league, so I'll be giving all sorts of NFL content, and I cannot wait for this channel to grow because I love talking this type of content. So that's gonna do it for me. Hope you guys enjoyed. At the end of the day, no, the Rams aren't fraudulent. They're a team that I think can win a Super Bowl. They have, by all accounts, the top 2 defense. They have an offense that isn't quite where they should be, and they still have a ton of talent to compensate for that. Their biggest issue is kicker right now, which they address, so we'll see. And the only other team I think you really have to worry about as far as balance-wise that has what the Rams have is Tampa Bay. So, and we'll know more next Monday night. So that's it. That's all I have to say. Good for first things first by not talking about the Rams. Just keep them under the radar. That's exactly what all the fans want. But I mean, at the end of the day, if you're going to make a take and you're going to back it up, and at least you did back it up, you have to own it. And if you don't own it, your takes start to be a little meaningless. I mean, what do they say? That they pay these analysts the big bucks to get it right. What about when they get it wrong? They just ignore it. So that's going to be it for me. Thanks, guys, for watching. I'll be back soon. Later.